This is the story of the blind man and the elephant. Long ago in India, 6 blind men lived together in a forest, not far from a Raja's palace. They had long heard about the great and wonderful animal, the elephant, but they had never seen one and longed to do so. One day, a friend of theirs, who was the gardener at the Raja's palace, came to see them. "I have good news for you. The Raja has brought an elephant, and it is being kept in the Raja's courtyard. I have come to bring you to the Raja's palace so that you may see the elephant at last." Now, the gardener had the blind men line up behind him, one behind the other. And then each blind man put his hand on the shoulder of the man standing directly in front of him. And in this way, the gardener was able to lead the blind men safely along the road from their home in the forest to the Raja's palace. The gardener brought them into the courtyard and stood them beside the elephant so that each could put out his hand and feel that part of the elephant that he was closest to. The first blind man felt the long, sinuous shape that was the elephant's trunk and thought, "This elephant is like a snake." The second blind man, smoothing his hand down the cool ivory length of the elephant's tusk with its sharp point, thought, "This elephant is like a spear." The third blind man reached up and felt the shape of the elephant's ear, wide and flat at the same time. He also felt the puff of air as the elephant flapped his great ear. And he thought, "This elephant is like a fan." The fourth blind man bent down and put his arms around the short length of the elephant's leg with its rough skin. He thought, "This elephant is like the trunk of a great tree." The fifth blind man reached out and felt the solid expanse of the elephant's side and thought, "This elephant is like a wall." Now the sixth blind man felt the short length of the elephant's tail with its tuft of wiry hair at the end. And he thought, "This elephant is like a rope." Now the gardener led the blind men to benches that were arranged in the shade in the courtyard. When he had settled them there, he said, "If you will wait here, I will bring you some cool water before we start back on our journey back to your home in the forest." The gardener went away, and the blind men began to discuss among themselves their experience of the elephant. "This elephant is truly a marvelous creature," said the first blind man. "He is like a snake." "Oh no, my brother," said the second blind man. "He is more like a spear." "What?" said the third blind man. "He is like a fan." "No, no, no," said the fourth blind man. "This elephant is like the trunk of a great tree." The fifth blind man said, "What are you thinking of, my friends? This elephant is like the solid wall of this very courtyard." "I do not see how you can be so wrong," said the sixth blind man, "for this elephant is clearly like a length of rope." "Tree, spear, blind men argued among themselves, and their voices grew louder and louder, until suddenly an even louder voice boomed out from up above. "Be quiet," roared the voice. "You disturb my sleep." "Oh no, it is the Raja himself. We have awakened him from his nap," whispered the blind man. "You have wakened me up," growled the Raja, "and you are all wrong. How can you possibly think that you know all about the elephant when each of you has only experienced one small part of that great creature? You must put all the parts together for you to know the entirety of the elephant. Now, leave me to get back to my nap." Suddenly, the courtyard was quiet again. "The Raja is truly a wise man," whispered the blind men to each other. "It might do well for us to follow his advice." Soon the gardener came back with the cool water, and when the blind men had quenched their thirst, they lined up once again behind the gardener, one behind the other, and each blind man put his hand on the shoulder of the man standing in front of him. In this way, the gardener safely led the blind men back from the palace to their home in the forest. Along the way, the blind men spoke kindly and softly to each other, discussing the different parts of the elephant and putting those ideas together so that they were able to understand the full shape and worth of the elephant, while still remaining friends. And that is the story of the blind men and the elephant.